My sister hated her own daughter, despite always saying she wanted to be a mother. And when I discovered the reason, I destroyed both families. At first, all of us in the family, myself included, thought it was simply because Emma was a girl. Since childhood, my sister Rebecca had said she hated girls and only liked boys. Friends, boyfriends, coworkers, she only surrounded herself with men. When she got pregnant for the first time, she threw a giant gender reveal party, with everything decorated in blue, hoping it would be a boy. I remember her face crumbling when the pink smoke filled the backyard. She forced a smile, but I saw her shoulders drop. Throughout the rest of the pregnancy, she kept sharing articles about toxic femininity and posting in Facebook groups aimed at boy moms, saying she hoped to have a son next time. After Emma was born, things got strange. Rebecca only dressed her daughter in gray or beige clothes. She called the girl the baby instead of using her name. At family gatherings, she constantly complained that Emma was too emotional, clingy, dramatic. The child was barely 2 years old. Rebecca openly said she didn't want her daughter. Meanwhile, my husband Michael and I had been trying to have children for 7 years. We'd been through everything: medications, procedures, crushing frustrations. One day, I asked Rebecca if she would consider letting Michael and me take care of Emma, since it was obvious she didn't want her. She gave me an insane look and said she'd rather sell her daughter than let us have her. And I still thought she was exaggerating. When Rebecca announced her second pregnancy last year, she was obsessed with the idea that it would be a boy. She said that if it was another girl, she would terminate the pregnancy. She wouldn't have another failure. During the pregnancy, she tried every possible method: old wives' tales, Chinese calendars, oils, special medications. She even researched IVF with sex selection, even though it was extremely expensive. We all thought it was an overreaction, until the day we found out it really was a boy. She went crazy with happiness. I remember the reveal party. When the blue smoke rose, she fell to her knees, crying with joy. Emma went over to hug her and ask what was happening, but Rebecca simply pushed her aside. The girl stumbled and scraped her knee on a metal swing. It was insane to watch. After that, we had almost no contact with Rebecca during the pregnancy. And even after the birth, the family drifted even further apart, partly because she had gone to Europe, claiming that giving birth there would be cheaper. But about 2 months after the baby was born, named Logan, we all got on a video call. 7 family members. At first, it was cute. Logan was sleeping, and Rebecca showed him wearing a onesie that said Mama's Boy. That's when my aunt asked about Emma. Rebecca's eyes widened. She didn't answer properly, just lowered her head and said quietly that Emma wasn't with her. My aunt insisted she explain. And then Rebecca confessed that she had put Emma up for adoption in mid-December, when she was still 6 months pregnant with Logan. She said she couldn't handle 2 children, and giving her away before Christmas would help save on gifts and ensure the trip to Europe. Everyone was shocked. My grandmother started clutching her chest in less than 30 seconds. Her breathing became labored, and she kept repeating Emma's name over and over. The call turned into chaos. Rebecca hung up while my grandmother had to be rushed to the hospital. When I got home that night, after making sure my grandmother was stable, I noticed that Michael was acting very strangely. First, I caught him in the bedroom deleting photos from his phone. They were all from 4 years ago. They seemed random. Some looked like ultrasound images in black and white, and that time period coincided exactly with when I got pregnant before having a miscarriage. That image. That damn ultrasound image. I can't explain it, but something inside me froze. It was as if my body had recognized it before my mind did. An uncomfortable feeling, a chill down my arms, as if something very wrong was about to emerge. Michael tried to play it off when he saw me in the bedroom doorway. He threw the phone on the bed, gave a crooked smile, and muttered something like, "Just clearing out phone memory." I just nodded, but stood there, motionless, watching him. "Those photos. Why now?" I asked. He pretended not to understand. "What are you talking about? Those photos are old. You didn't even keep anything from that time. Why did you decide to delete exactly those now? They're just images that don't make sense anymore, honey. You know how it is. I need space for backup." My heart was beating hard. Something didn't make sense. Something was hidden. And for the first time in years, I felt afraid of the man I slept next to every night. The next day, I pretended everything was normal. I made coffee, said good morning, kissed his cheek as if nothing had happened. But inside, I no longer trusted him. Something was screaming inside me, and it wasn't just about Rebecca. It was something closer, more intimate, as if the rot was inside my own house. I went back to the bedroom and retrieved his phone as discreetly as I could. Michael wasn't stupid, of course. He had deleted everything, but there was a Google Photos backup that he forgot to log out of. And there, among trips, dinners, and family photos, were 3 files titled February 2019. They were ultrasound images, with a name, Emma. My stomach turned. I closed the app, closed the phone, closed the world for a second. My mind was screaming, refusing to accept the obvious. It was a coincidence. It had to be. Maybe Rebecca had sent that to him at the time. Maybe he was just being, I don't know, supportive. But why keep it hidden? And why delete it now? I went downstairs like a ghost. Rebecca's words from that video call came back to my head with force. She no longer had her daughter. She had given Emma away. That little girl so full of life, so sweet. My heart ached just remembering Emma's eyes trying to understand why her own mother pushed her during Logan's reveal. I didn't sleep that night. I waited for Michael to snore before taking his laptop. I used his password, our dog's name, ironically. I went into email, archived conversations, backups. And there it was, an old email. An email that broke me. Subject: she wants to continue with the pregnancy. Short text: if it's really mine, I'll do whatever it takes. But I can't let her know. She was me, the idiot, the wife, the one who cried every month with another negative pregnancy test. The next morning, I looked at Michael while he ate toast with coffee and thought about how I would manage not to stick the butter knife in his chest. He noticed my stare, forced a smile, and said, "Did you sleep well?" I just shook my head. More or less. I had weird dreams. About Emma? I nodded. Sad, isn't it? Rebecca went too far this time. Yeah, she did. Time seemed to drag, and everything in me begged to explode. But I needed proof. And more than that, I needed to make him admit it. Not for me, but for Emma. That girl had been rejected, discarded. And if she really was his, he was just as guilty as Rebecca. That afternoon, I pretended I was going to the store. I drove to my mother's house, which was about 20 minutes away. I begged her to take care of something for me. A DNA test. Honey, what's going on? If I tell you now, you'll try to stop me. Is it that serious? It's much worse. I already had Emma's hair in a picture frame I'd saved. One day, Rebecca herself gave it to me, when the girl turned 2. She said it was a memento of when she was bearable when she still couldn't talk. I had found that strange at the time. Now I saw it was just the beginning of something much darker. I sent the DNA. I sent Michael's too, from one of his toothbrushes. 7 days until the result. And I swear they were the longest 7 days of my life. I kept smiling. I kept pretending we were the same stable, happy couple as always. But inside, I was already plotting the downfall of 2 monsters. My sister, who abandoned her daughter out of pure contempt, and my husband, who probably cheated on me, had a child outside of marriage, and still watched that child be given away to strangers without lifting a finger. But on the 8th day, everything changed. And it's in the next chapter that you'll understand what I saw when I opened that result. Because after that, there was no going back. I no longer knew what compassion was. I only knew revenge, and it was with that feeling burning in my chest that, on the 8th day, I opened the DNA test result. Positive. 99.9998%. Emma was Michael's daughter. My vision darkened. I had to hold on to the kitchen counter to keep from fainting. It had been years. Years of trying. Hormones, needles, pain, tears. All of that while he already had a daughter. And he never told me. Never showed it. On the contrary, he looked at Emma with pity. Maybe even with fear. And now I understood why. The first thing I did was breathe. The second was to call her the witch. Rebecca answered from a cafe somewhere in Belgium, as if nothing was wrong. She smiled when she saw my face on the screen. Hey, did the old lady survive the heart attack, or can I come back to the family group? Shut up, Rebecca. Her eyes widened. Wow. What's wrong? Did your little plant die? You're going to tell me right now who Emma's father is. She fell silent. For 2 seconds. Then she looked to the side and laughed. Oh, still on about that? I already told you it doesn't matter. I'm a single mother. I sent some sperm to the universe, and what did it give me? A mistake. But I corrected it. Everything's resolved. I'm serious, Rebecca. I know, and I have proof. Her eyes widened again, but now there was something different. Discomfort. A nervous movement with her mouth. She swallowed hard, adjusted her sunglasses on top of her head. You... what? I tested Emma's DNA with Michael's. I had her hair, remember? You gave me that picture frame yourself on her 2nd birthday, like it was a useless memento. And I had my husband's toothbrush. Rebecca fell silent. Why did you do this, Rebecca? I continued, my voice trembling. Why him? Why with me? With us? She bit her lower lip, looked around then at the screen, and said the most absurd thing anyone has ever said to me. Because Michael has wonderful genetics. I didn't understand. What? Yeah, duh. Tall, handsome, healthy, smart. You think I was going to have a child with just any idiot who showed up? No. I needed the best material. And he wanted to be a father too, didn't he? You're telling me you slept with my husband knowing he was married to me just because he was… What? A good breeder. You can't be so selfish, sis. You guys had been trying for years and nothing. I just sped up the process. You got pregnant by my husband behind my back, had his daughter, gave that child away, and kept living like nothing happened? She shrugged. I didn't know if the girl was his. I did it with 2 guys that month. One was stupid and addicted to gambling. The other was Michael. And well, it was Michael. A shame. A shame? You don't understand. I wanted a boy. I always wanted one. But nature? Oh, nature loves to play jokes, doesn't it? Here, take a crybaby, clingy, needy girl. I couldn't stand it. I looked at her and saw everything I hated about myself. Failure, weakness, drama. I tried. I swear I tried. She was crying now. But they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of frustration, from someone who feels they were wronged for having the wrong daughter. You didn't try, you rejected that girl from the day you found out she was a girl. You never said her name with affection. You never called her daughter. She took a deep breath. The cafe behind her was getting noisier, but she didn't care. Look, you already found out what you wanted. Congratulations. Now leave me alone. I'm with Logan, and he's everything I always wanted. No, I'm not done yet. She closed her eyes. Now you're going to tell me, where is Emma? And more than that, why do you hate her so much? What could that girl have done, still a baby, for you to treat her like garbage? Because not even you, Rebecca, are capable of so much hatred without reason. She stared at me and hung up. But that answer, that would come in the next confrontation. And when it came, I swear by everything sacred, she wouldn't get away unscathed. Neither would she, nor Michael, nor would I. Because I was no longer the same either. I spent the entire night awake. The room seemed smaller. The walls were closing in. I was sweating cold, wanting to scream. That call hadn't ended. That story hadn't finished. Every second that passed, something inside me boiled with more intensity. I needed to understand. I needed to hear it from her mouth. I no longer wanted assumptions. I didn't want to fill gaps with my pain. I wanted the truth, naked, raw, disgusting as it was. The next morning, I called again. It wasn't on the 3rd or the 5th. Rebecca only answered on the 7th call, with a tired face, visibly irritated. She seemed not to have slept well either. Perfect. You woke me up, you crazy woman. Tell me where Emma is. She huffed. I already told you. She was adopted. End of December. Signature done, sealed, sent. And no, I don't know by whom. It was a closed adoption, total confidentiality. No name. I just handed her over and turned the page. You lied your whole life. You betrayed me. You destroyed a child. And now you pretend everything's fine? That it's just moving on? She laughed. A dry, almost hysterical laugh. You don't understand. Of course you don't understand. You never understand anything. It's always been like that. What are you talking about? She sighed. Her look changed. That coldness now came accompanied by a type of contempt I'd never seen, as if she had finally taken off the mask. You want to know why I hated that girl? Why every time she called me mommy I wanted to disappear? Then I'll tell you. Silence. And then it came. Because she was you. My heart stopped for an instant. What? She was your copy. Not just because she came from the same idiot who sleeps in your bed, but the way, the eyes, the way she smiled. That irritating joy you always had. That habit of seeming perfect even when everything went wrong. I couldn't stand it. You don't understand how much I hate you. I couldn't say anything. Since childhood, you were always the one who passed tests, who had friends, who the uncles praised, the one who had boyfriends before me, the one who got married first, the one who had a house, job, travels. And me? I was the shadow, the leftover, the one who was compared to you all the time. Rebecca. No! Listen now. I tried to ignore you. I tried to live my life, but it was impossible. Everything about you provoked me. Even your attempt to get pregnant seemed like another excuse to get attention. But then came Michael, your perfect husband, nice, gentle, and vulnerable. My hand was shaking. You were so obsessed with getting pregnant that you didn't even notice. He spent more time venting to me than to you. One day, he cried on my couch. He said he felt powerless, that he thought it was his fault. And I saw there, the crack. If I had a child with him, I would win. You used Michael to compete with me. I used Michael to beat you, and I won. You know why? Because I achieved what you never achieved. A child. I carried a life in my womb. I was a mother. Even if it was for a short time, even if I couldn't love, at least I did it. But why so much hatred for Emma? She took a deep breath. For the first time, she seemed hesitant. Because every time she looked at me, I saw you smiling inside. I saw the damn reminder that I'm your shadow. She had your brightness, your way. I looked and didn't see my daughter. I saw you, and that destroyed me inside. A tear ran down my cheek. You hated her because she looked like me? Because she was the reflection of the sister you envied your whole life? She didn't answer. But the absence of an answer said everything. I took a deep breath. My voice choked. You had a child out of revenge, out of competition. And when that child was born as a girl, as an extension of me, you destroyed her. You erased her from the world. She just hung up. Once again, she ran away. But I already knew enough. Now it was my turn to do justice. For me. For Emma. For everything she had to endure without understanding why. Because she was innocent. And she paid for a war she never chose to fight. It was at that moment I knew. Nothing could be kept anymore. This was no longer just about me or about Rebecca. This was about a child who had been erased. A life despised. A human being thrown in the trash out of pure envy. And a husband, my husband, who not only betrayed my body, but betrayed my soul by hiding the daughter he had with my sister. I spent the rest of the day in silence, but inside I was boiling. I went to the closet, took 2 large suitcases, and started throwing Michael's clothes inside. Without folding, without choosing. Wrinkled shirts, shoes thrown in, boxers and balls. It wasn't a separation ritual. It was an eviction. When he came home, he saw me sitting in the living room with the suitcases by the door. Huh, are you traveling? You are. He laughed. You're joking, right? Michael. I know. The smile faded. What do you know? That Emma is your daughter. That you slept with my sister. That you spent 4 years watching me struggle for something you had already achieved with someone else. He went pale. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. I have the DNA result. I have her archived messages. I talked to Rebecca, and she confirmed everything. Even the pathetic motivation, envy. You were a pawn, a useful idiot in someone rotten's game. I wanted to tell you. I swear I wanted to, but you stayed quiet. You let the child be given away, abandoned, discarded. You participated in that. You were part of that monstrosity. I didn't know she was going to do that. I thought she wanted to raise her. Didn't know? She said she'd rather sell the child than give her to me. And you trusted that? You did nothing when she disappeared with your daughter. He approached, desperate. Please, listen to me. I regretted it. I felt guilty. I thought about telling you so many times. But you didn't. You found it easier to delete photos, pretend nothing happened, sleep next to me, hear my tears every time another test came back negative, while your daughter grew up rejected and invisible. He fell to his knees on the living room rug. Forgive me. Get up. Please. Get up. He obeyed with red eyes. You're going to take those suitcases. You're going to leave through that door. You're going to disappear from my life. And you're going to think every day about the girl you allowed to be discarded like a burden. But what about our marriage? There's no marriage anymore. There's a divorce on the way. And a name on paper that I'm going to drag from my certificate with pleasure. You're as much of a father as she is a mother. And neither of you is worth what that girl suffered. Get out of my house now. He still hesitated, cried, tried to argue. But I was standing, pointing at the door. I wasn't shaking anymore. There was no more room for hesitation. He left, and the silence that remained after the door slammed was the most painful of my life, and the most liberating. The next day, I called the family together. Of course, without Grandma. She was still fragile and couldn't, under any circumstances, know everything. We said it was just a conversation about Michael, that he had betrayed me, that we were separating. Nothing more. My parents came first, then my uncles. My cousin Gabriel connected the call with those who were out of state. Everyone sat down, and I began. Without beating around the bush, I explained how I discovered the betrayal, how I did the DNA test. I told them what Rebecca said on the call, word for word. I played excerpts from the audio I secretly recorded of the call. I showed screenshots of emails, dates, times. I showed the resentment, the perversity, the coldness. My mother was crying. My father was shaking with rage. One of my aunts had to leave the room to breathe. Gabriel was cursing at the screen as if she could hear. "She had a daughter with your husband and gave her away?" My mother asked in shock. "Yes, and not only that. She hated the girl for looking like me, because she hated me. She said it in so many words. Emma was the reflection of the sister she envied her whole life." A deathly silence filled the room. I took advantage. And the worst is yet to come, because now I need to know where that girl is. No one here is going to rest until she's found. And if anyone in our family, even remotely, knows anything and hides it, they'll become an accomplice. One by one, everyone agreed. I could see the look of outrage on their faces. The contempt for Rebecca was clear. For the first time, I saw unity, real unity, against a common evil. "She said it was a closed adoption," Gabriel said, already typing something on his phone. "But that doesn't mean she didn't leave traces." "She traveled pregnant to Europe," my uncle said, "but the adoption process was in the US. There has to be documentation. Registration. Someone received that child." My mother looked at me. "Do you think that she sold her?" I held her hand firmly. "I don't know, but if she sold her, I swear I'm going to find out, and she's going to pay." Because now it was no longer just a dispute between sisters. It was a declared war. And in the next chapter, the truth would come to light. Rebecca didn't just give away her daughter. She profited from it. It was a declared war, and I was willing to go all the way. With all the evidence gathered, the DNA test, the messages, the audio recordings from the call with Rebecca, screenshots of old posts, I went to the police station. It was no longer just about betrayal. It was about crime, about abandonment, about a child treated like garbage, traded like merchandise. I filed the formal complaint. I also took everything to Child Protective Services. I was clear, objective, and direct. For the first time in weeks, my voice didn't tremble. The social worker who attended to me was horrified by the accounts. "If all this is confirmed," she said seriously, "we're looking at child trafficking. It's extremely serious, and the person responsible can lose custody of any other child they have." I nodded. That's what I wanted. For her to lose everything she used to hurt. For her to feel in her own flesh the consequence of what she did to that girl she called a failure. A process was initiated. An international alert was opened for suspected illegal adoption. Rebecca's name was included in an alert system. And so began the hunt for answers. Meanwhile, the family maintained absolute silence in front of Grandma. Her health was still fragile, and any stronger news could take her away for good. We only said that Rebecca and I had fought and that I was getting divorced. Nothing more. 2 days after the complaint, my lawyer filed the divorce petition urgently. Michael was officially served but refused to respond. He said he wanted to resolve things personally. He knocked on my door a week later with the same cynical face as always. "I came to talk. You came to get what was left behind. Because talking to me, Michael, you're not going to do anymore. Please let me. You're the father of a child who was sold. And you knew it. You didn't pretend not to know. No. You knew. You slept next to me while the daughter you made with my sister was treated like a burden, like a mistake. And you allowed it. I regret it." "Okay, I feel like garbage." "You feel like garbage? Well, that's exactly what you are. A weak, cowardly man who used me as an excuse to live a lie. Who saw a girl grow up being rejected and didn't lift a finger. Do you want me to disappear? No. I want you to remember every day that you lost everything. That you destroyed 2 families. That you're not a father. And you were never a husband. And that now even your daughter despises you, even though she doesn't know who you are." He cried. He begged. But I closed the door firmly and didn't open it again. The following week, the bomb dropped. Emma had been located. The social worker called me saying that, thanks to digital traces and cross-referencing entry and exit data from the country, they managed to track the child's destination. She was with a woman who claimed to have informally adopted the girl after meeting Rebecca online. This woman couldn't have children. She had years of frustrations and said she saw in Rebecca a divine hope. She paid a considerable amount for the pregnancy costs, which in practice was disguised purchase. The complaint activated the return procedures. Authorities collected Emma and placed her under temporary custody. From there, the repatriation process began. The child would be returned to the country of origin with support from the responsible ministry. The judge responsible for the case, when analyzing the documents presented by the woman, declared the adoption irregular. Everything was falsified. In the midst of this turmoil, CPS also issued an opinion about Rebecca's second child, baby Logan, and based on the evidence, audio recordings, and risk of recurrence, she immediately lost custody of him. My mother volunteered. She already had all the documentation ready. She was heard by psychologists and social workers. She went through visits, interviews, and she was considered the only one capable of receiving emergency custody of Logan and also of Emma as soon as she arrived. They were the longest days of my life. Until finally, Emma disembarked. She was different, thinner, her gaze cautious. She walked with her arms glued to her body, as if expecting anyone to push her. But when she saw my mother in the arrival hall, something in her softened. "Grandma?" My mother opened her arms, and Emma ran, without fear, without doubt, as if something inside her said, "Here is safe." I cried, not from pain, but from hope, because finally she was where she should have always been, surrounded by love. Logan was also already with us. My father bought a new crib. My aunt insisted on remodeling an entire room for both of them. The whole family mobilized, except one person, Rebecca, who was now being sought by justice. And in the next chapter, she would be judged, and everyone would see who she really was. Rebecca was arrested at the departure gate, about to board to another country with falsified documents, a suitcase, and a one-way ticket. She didn't expect the warrant. She didn't expect the complaint to become something so big. She thought, as always, that she would get away with it, as she had since childhood. But that morning, she was handcuffed in front of witnesses. Without makeup, without filter, without justification. When I learned of the arrest, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt relief. She needed to stop. She needed to be contained. For the first time, there were no excuses, lies, or manipulations that could protect her. The evidence was there. Bank records, negotiation conversations with the woman who adopted Emma, audio recordings where she admitted she hated her daughter, that she preferred to sell her rather than see her with me. The trial was quick, thanks to the gravity of the case and robust evidence. She was convicted of child abandonment, fraud, false identity, and participation in illegal adoption networks. The sentence was clear: total loss of custody of any minor, prohibition from leaving the country for 10 years, and imprisonment in semi-open regime. The image of her at the hearing, cold, head held high, but with empty eyes, will never leave my mind. When the judge asked if she wanted to say anything, she remained silent. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't cry. She just looked at me in the witness stand and murmured, "Now you have everything, again." That's when I understood. She never wanted to be a mother. She never wished to care. All she wanted was to win, to have what I didn't have. And when that became real, when fate gave her a daughter, so similar to me, she broke. Hatred spoke louder than any maternal instinct. And that's why, even today, even locked up, she can't stand the idea of having a daughter. Because that girl was a mirror. And Rebecca hated everything she saw reflected in it. Emma and Logan now live with my mother. The house became a real home. Emma took weeks before she could sleep without waking up in the middle of the night, crying. But now she smiles. She draws. She sings softly before sleeping. She learned to say, "I love you," without fear. Logan is a sweet, calm baby. He grows surrounded by affection, different from the first months he spent in the arms of a woman who used the title of mother as a shield for her own frustrations. As for me, I learned to breathe again. It took time to trust people. Not to blame myself for not realizing earlier. For having shared my life with a man as weak as Michael. He never appeared again. Maybe afraid of justice. Maybe afraid of me. And let it stay that way. He was a chapter erased from my story, but will never be erased from the story of the daughter he abandoned. Emma calls me aunt. Sometimes when she forgets. Sometimes a mommy slips out. I never correct her. Because the love we have doesn't need labels. It needs presence, care, truth. And that now she has in abundance. Rebecca is where she deserves to be. And if she ever gets out, the world will be a harder place for her, because now the truth has been told, and no one believes her distorted versions anymore. This is my sister's story, of the child she hated, and of the family that decided not to repeat the same mistake. Never again. Time passed. Not much, but enough for the wounds to begin to heal. some cleanly, others with scars that will never disappear. When I look at everything that happened, I still wonder how we let it go so far, how no one noticed before. But maybe it's because no one wanted to believe that someone of our blood was capable of so much. Today, each of us carries a different destiny. Rebecca, my sister, serves her sentence in semi-open regime. She's prohibited from leaving the city where she resides and must appear monthly at the family and juvenile court. She can't get close to any child. Not Emma, not Logan. They said she tried to appeal, that she swore she was repentant, that she took religious courses inside the facility. But we know what that means. Nothing. A disguise. A facade for a woman who never had love inside her. Only competition. Even in prison, she still refuses to mention her daughter's name. In the rare visits from the public defender when they ask if she wants to know how Emma is, she only responds, "I don't have a daughter." She never accepted having brought a girl into the world. She never tolerated having lost the war she created herself. Michael disappeared. As soon as he received official notification from Justice about the investigation, he vanished. Not even his parents know where he is. Several attempts at summons were made, but he doesn't respond. Emma's child support was determined judicially, but to this day, not a single cent has been deposited. Even with an open collection order, he remains invisible. He doesn't fight for his daughter. He doesn't send messages. Nothing. And maybe that's for the best, because his absence hurts less than his presence would cause. My mother, who assumed custody of Emma and Logan, was reborn. It's as if she received a second chance to be a mother, and this time, in an even more conscious, stronger way. She set up a routine full of affection and discipline. She gets up early, prepares the children's breakfast, helps with homework, tells stories. She's the safe harbor we all need. And it's with her that Emma found stability. My mother says she doesn't feel anger toward her eldest daughter. She feels pity. But she made it clear that she will never forgive her for what she did to the children. "You can love a child, but you can't ignore a monster," is what she said once. My father, always quieter, was the one who took longest to recover. The shame of having raised someone like Rebecca consumed him for months. But he never stopped supporting my mother, never ran from responsibilities. Today, he takes Logan for walks on Sundays, teaches Emma to ride a bike and to plant beans in wet cotton. He rarely talks about Rebecca. When he does, it's with an empty look, like someone lamenting a failure they don't know how to fix. Gabriel, my cousin, who helped with the investigation, became one of the pillars of our family's new phase. He created an online fundraiser to help with legal costs, sought contacts in NGOs supporting children who are victims of abandonment, and even did therapy with Emma for a while, in playful sessions, with board games and drawings. He says he doesn't see himself as a hero, but for Emma, he's one of her favorites. Every time he arrives, she runs and hangs on his neck. "You're my hero cousin," she says. And he smiles, not knowing how to return so much love. Emma finally flourished. She still has fears. She still has nights when she wakes up asking if she's going away again, but now she trusts the answers. She sleeps peacefully. She talks nonstop. She draws everything she lives, from the new house to the aunt with a heart cape, me. She knows she has a biological mother who didn't want to stay. And little by little, she learns that doesn't define who she is. Today, at 7 years old, she reads better than many children her age. She sings, dances, and always ends the day saying, "Was I loved today?" The answer is always yes. Logan, the younger brother, is still too small to understand what happened, but he lives surrounded by care. He grows in the same home that is now his sister's refuge. He'll learn the truth someday, but before that, he'll know what it is to be protected. My mother treats him like a grandson, but for Emma, he's my real brother, just from a different belly. They live attached. And when they sleep in the same room, she always holds his hand before turning off the light. And me, I survived. I officially divorced. I resumed my life. I went back to work, but took time for myself. I started therapy. I understood that not everything is my fault, that I'm not weak for not seeing it before. I didn't try to get pregnant anymore, not from lack of desire, but because I realized that love isn't necessarily in blood, but in care. And today, when Emma calls me Aunt Mom by accident, my heart fills up. I lost a lot, but I gained what's essential. And Grandma? She still doesn't know everything. And maybe she never will. But she sees Emma at home every day and says, "That girl has light." And she does. Because in the middle of the most rotten darkness, a rejected child survived and became light. And that light saved an entire family.